To be or not to be? To be.
Without a doubt, the new French aircraft tree contains a couple of the most battle-rating, upsetting aircraft in a very long time. The avions à réacteur du Baguette, aka the VAUTOUR IIB and IIA. Not only are they among the fastest aircraft in the game at almost 600 knots, aka about 1100 kilometers per hour, they are both battle rated at 8.0, which logically upset a lot of players of other air forces. However, I'm not here to talk about fair play as much as I'm here just to simply talk about the VAUTOUR IIB, aka the Jet Baguette, and how it differs from the VAUTOUR IIA and where it excels. So in short, the VAUTOUR IIB is the twin jet engine swept-wing tactical bomber version of the basic VAUTOUR design. Engines are mounted in pods on the wings, with the wings themselves swept at a 35-degree angle, along with all swept tail surfaces and an all-moving flying tailplane for maintaining control when approaching the sound barrier. Power comes from its Snecma ATAR 101E5 engines, each putting out over 3,200 kilograms of thrust apiece when fully upgraded in War Thunder. Fascinatingly, the ATAR series of engines are pretty much direct descendants of German jet engines designed during the Second World War. In turn, they are worth telling their own story, but we're focused on the VAUTOUR, not the ATAR 101. All production versions of the VAUTOUR contain the single bomb bay, and in the 2B's case, in War Thunder, it can be filled with up to 6 250, 500, or 750 pound bombs, or 2 1,000 pound bombs. In tandem, the wings feature 4 hardpoints that can carry up to the 1,000 pound bomb on each pylon. Max weight payload available to War Thunder players is 10 750 pound bombs for a very respectable 7,500 pound bomb warload. Though in real life the VAUTOUR had a max combined payload capacity of around 16,000 pounds, which is better reflected in the VAUTOUR IIA. The in-game 7,500 pound capacity is only less than that of the VAUTOUR IIA, which can also carry rockets, and just slightly less than that of the American B-57B Canberra with its 8 1,000 pound bomb capability. However, unlike the Canberra, the VAUTOUR IIB will still approach its max speed even when fully laden with munitions, making it the high-speed interdictor that other tactical bombers wish they could be. It's in this pure tactical bombing role that the 2B has a very clear advantage over the 2A, in that it has a dedicated bombardier and the inclusion of a bomb sight, greatly easing up the task of dropping bombs precisely. You can accurately toss bombs onto heavily defended targets from a distance, like in realistic battle, or more prevalently in sim mode, where enemy airfields have dense and accurate AAA. The massive reduction in weight and drag after release means you can get the hell out of Dodge even faster. I would in fact state that I spend more time in the landing and takeoff sequences of flying the VAUTOUR IIB than I do actually in the attack and approach phases. That's how fast you scoot around, and admittedly, it can get kind of boring quick. The 2B has no gun armament to use against aerial or ground targets, turning the game into sometimes a very repetitive cycle of takeoff, attack, egress, and land, but is a very quick and excellent way to rack up RP and lions. In an actual 8.0 battle-rated game, you're pretty much unstoppable. The only times you're vulnerable is during takeoff, landing, and rearming, and perhaps during your acceleration to target phase. Realistic battle nets you the insane benefit of air start regardless of BR. However, I will state that the vast majority of realistic battles I've had in either VAUTOUR were 9.0. And yes, the very fastest fighters in the game, like the Hunter and MiG-17, have the very possibility of catching you. In general, if an enemy gets into gun range on your rear, you're screwed, unless you can force them into an overshoot, since the VAUTOURs are extremely lacking in maneuvering capability. Now, Sim is a bit different, since the BR spreads in Sim are more inclusive and you don't get air start. Of course, you're limited to the cockpit view, of which isn't bad in the VAUTOUR towards the front, though your rear quarters is left completely blind. Another very important quip is the tandem bicycle landing gear arrangement, the first in War Thunder, meaning takeoff and landing can be a bit tricky as the main rear wheel is so far back. Subsequently, on takeoff you needed a lot of stick force to lever the rear of the plane down to increase the wing's angle of attack enough to leave the ground by production lift, but this is solved with 1. Achieving a decent airspeed, and 2. Using your takeoff flap setting, which when both are used, the VAUTOUR will lift itself off the ground but will limit your acceleration. And you have to be careful when retracting the flaps below 200 knots, because the plane will want to nose down due to the massive loss in lift. You want a decent amount of vertical climb and or altitude when you retract the flaps. Landing isn't that big a deal as long as you're aware of the rear main gear being so far back, and you're down to 160 knots when you cross the runway threshold. The landing flaps are insanely effective, and you have to be very aware of how they will affect your pitch on approach. Be ready to extend them around 200 knots as they create a massive uptick in lift, so you need to force the nose down. I'd almost recommend using your bracket keys to actuate combat lift settings first, then move to takeoff, and then finally to landing once you reach a lower speed. The wheel brakes are unrealistically powerful, a change Gaijin made on purpose because of the mostly small airfields in the game. As long as you're firmly on the ground and braking by halfway point on most airfields, you'll stop in time. Very big important factor on takeoff and landing performance is the amount of fuel you carry. Being only useful for bombing, the VAUTOUR IIB is perfectly fine to use the minimal 8 minutes of fuel on the vast majority of maps. You gain the benefit of better performance. Large maps are only crossed in a couple minutes, the exception being the new English Channel map, where I would definitely recommend the full 28-minute fuel load. Using the minimal fuel setting and after takeoff, the VAUTOUR IIB's tremendous acceleration really comes into its own, even when you're lifting full weapon stores and have no aircraft enhancements. The 2B does seem to have a bit better acceleration than the 2A when carrying the same munitions load that I've seen so far. This can be explained by a lower total airframe weight, the slight uptick in available thrust with the ATAR 101E5 engine, and possibly actually its nozzle design. If you look closely, the 2A's ATAR 101E3 features your typical cylindrical jet pipe, while the 2B's E5 has an eyelid-style variable nozzle to better maximize thrust efficiency at all regimes of flight. I don't think it plays that strongly at low speeds, but it seems very apparent the 2B has better acceleration above 200 knots, aka 370 km per hour. So the VAUTOUR IIB is pretty straightforward, if not unremarkable in overall scope. It's just sort of understandable why Gaijin put it at BR 8.0 like other tactical bombers, some of which do have offensive armament for farming ground targets and the odd aircraft. It's simply just giving the French tree the same kind of aircraft other trees have at that same BR. The difference is those other aircraft are pretty easy to catch and shoot down. The only thing going against this rating is its insane speed. Even knowing that, I would be partially hesitant to place it at 9.0 for realistic battle. It has no guns and it lacks maneuverability, making it useless for nothing but bombing. 8.3 or 8.7 would be more appropriate to prevent 7.0 aircraft from getting oddly paired against it in realistic battle, though in practice it sees 9.0 planes most often already. Where the 8.0 rating will become superbly OP is in the release of a French ground forces tree. Either VAUTOUR would be an absolute force to be reckoned with in that case. Until then, the VAUTOUR IIB is perfectly fine where it is currently, and for sim it really doesn't matter since simulation mode considers a very large range of battle ratings in game matches, specifically 6.3 through 9.3 at the current highest level. I have enjoyed my tour in the VAUTOUR IIB so far. It is a very fun plane to fly. My only complaints are the less than maximum real life bomb load and the more game engine related matter of transonic speed simulation. I look forward to the latter getting implemented eventually, as plenty of aircraft in War Thunder can break through the sound barrier in a dive. Until then, perhaps I'll see you in the skies of War Thunder. Bonne chance et good yacht!